Bettina Schaller is an incredible person. She is a leader in the world of work. She's a very respected thought leader in not only her space, but also in anything economic development. But what she is, I think, the most famous for is because of her, how gracious she is. She is spectacular. She has been super helpful and always really ready to support. So we had the opportunity of interviewing her this week, and we asked her a few questions. So first of all, I asked her to introduce herself so everybody knows a little bit more about her. But you're going to see that she's not only super intelligent, but also she's really kind and funny, and she is doing so much and creating so many opportunities for so many people. So thank you very much to Bettina again for our conversation. And now we can have her introduction that is in the first video.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Bettina Schaller. I am the head of the public affairs function at the Adecco Group, a multinational based in Switzerland, specialized in workforce solutions. I also have a few mandates on the side. One of them being the president of World Employment Confederation, the voice of the private employment services industry. I'm also on the G20, B20 Future of Work and Employment Task Force, and I'm the Vice President of the Business at OECD, Employment, Labor and Social Affairs Committee. I'm absolutely delighted to be with you. What a pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation, Carlos and team, and congratulations. Wow, what a first, event, I guess, General Assembly you've put up here. I would like to take the opportunity to, in a way, salute all the delegates from over 100 countries. Unbelievable. I myself am greeting you from Johannesburg in South Africa, where I have decided to spend the next 3 weeks working remotely. I'm usually based in Zurich in Switzerland. Again, very impressed with the lineup and of course the participation. Delighted to be a part of it. I must say it feels a little bit like Davos for those of you who've been there. So I'm really tremendously looking forward to what kind of movement gets started today.
Thank you very much, Bettina. You're amazing. And I first started asking her, what are the top policies, practical and effective solutions you recommend to create jobs and economic development, both in the present and in the coming decade? Here's what she said.
Well, listen, Carlos, actually, there is no secret sauce, because if there was one, we would be applying it already, right? We have to recognize that there's national, regional, there's city peculiarities and differences. There's history, there's culture that plays into, what it takes for that job creation element to be successful and that economic success to be there. But with all of that, I always say that shouldn't be an excuse, actually. I think for many years and in many places, those elements are put forward. So I have 6 ingredients that I would like to share with you. First of all, what's absolutely key for job creation is to create a framework that allows for what we call diverse forms of work. Because you need to be able to give people the freedom in a way to choose the type of contract that they want in order to be working. What's important here is to recognize that full employment, direct employment relationship that people think is the only one, where you employee and an employer. Well, first of all, that is not the majority. That is in many countries not the norm, because there's a big amount of informal work. And also we see more and more that is not what people aspire for and strive for. What people want in many places is the flexibility piece. So you need to provide diverse forms of work with contracts, be it self-employment, contract work, be it agency work, that allow for that. Number 2, you need to make sure that there's access to jobs. I know this sounds simple, but in too many countries, there's still barriers to jobs, to actually, working. And so that is a barrier to job creation. Third, and I'm sure you will be discussing this and hearing it, so I confirm, you need to incentivize businesses and incentivize the individual as well, the entrepreneurs. There's, again, different ways of doing that. It depends on the environment you're in. Fourth, and I think this is really key nowadays, the crisis has shown it, you need to provide the digital infrastructure in other words, just the basic access to the web, to the internet, the access to digital tools. Job creation today and in future will be linked to that digitalness, right? To being able to display your work in a digital manner. And there's still too many places and too many people in the world who don't have that access. The fifth element is anything that has to do with re and upskilling. Policy frameworks need to do and to look at how you upskill people. The talent shortage that we see in many countries has to do to a large extent with the fact that people don't have the right skills. And for job creation, well, you need to take that into consideration as well. And a key element here, by the way, is that financing. And lastly, and that might be a little bit of a surprising one, well, you need to invest in social peace. And I even say actually in social morals. In other ways, the environment needs to be conducive to job creation. What I want to say here is there's no job creation where there is corruption, where there is discrimination, where there is violence, where there is criminality. And that starts with the individual. And yes, well, I'm Swiss, but you know, I'm a rules-driven person. I do believe job creation, you need rules. Rules must exist, and those rules must apply to all.
Those points were absolutely on point. It is just so important for us to have the values that are needed in order to create the job, the employment that we want. But also, as she was mentioning, the importance of being digitally enabled and all of the other points were really, really important. The next question that I asked her was, what do you think would be the best possible call to action for governments, policymakers, companies, universities, schools, media, citizens to foster job creation and economic development? Here's what she said.
Well, you know, that's an absolutely fundamental question. And I would actually like to make a call. First of all, when it comes to the best possible action, and that's really, you know, building from the crisis we just saw, is to actually focus on labor market measures. We saw during this crisis that there was what we also here say an unprecedented attention on labor market measures, on support measures both to workers and to governments. Now, you know, I'm obviously biased. I'm from the workforce solutions industry, but I can tell you that too often the labor market administration is at the bottom of the food chain, basically. So my call here would be to, you know, bring back the focus on topics that are related to work, to employment, to the labor market, right to the top of the agenda. I mean, we see today that well-regulated labor markets clearly enhance economic stability and competitiveness. So that would be one key aspect I'd like to, you know, throw out there. There's a second piece, which I think is important, is we need to finally, well, think out of the box in this context as well, right? We can't continue to perpetuate a system that was built in the last century. Labor markets in many countries are the outcome of basically, you know, Second World War, then industrialization, but really, you know, they almost got stuck there. And I mean, we were all talking already about the effects of automation, of globalization, now the effects of green. Well, it's time to finally start building around those. And this is where we, for example, also say at the Adecco Group that it's time to define a new social contract. And finally, what's absolutely key, and this is really a call to action to everybody, and that's why I'm so delighted to be with you today, because it embodies this. It's this, you know, call to collaborate, to work together, to co-design, to bring all the right experts to the table. And here again, it won't surprise you that, well, if we look at, again, my topics, labor market topics, you know, bring the private employment services industry, who we are, bring us to the table, because we're the ones who are dealing with that on a daily basis. And I can assure you, we've got some very, very good solutions.
Thank you so much, Bettina. And the last question was about the main focus of her work and what she's most proud about, because they are helping create a lot of opportunity. And I wanted to share with everybody the work that she's doing. So there we go with the last question about her best practices, achievements, successes of her work.
Well, listen, I mean, our main focus is actually to bring people to work. And I think, you know, we do that pretty well. All over the world, in the countries where we're active, it's over 50 million people. And, you know, it's between, as we say, enabling work, enabling adaptability, enabling security, enabling prosperity. Now, me specifically, my role in this whole piece, in my function of government affairs and presiding the World Employment Confederation, I really focus on that better functioning of labor markets, you know, those efficiency gains. I'm also incredibly passionate about increasing the employability of workers. That is absolutely key. And actually, it's one of the areas that I feel, you know, a lot of pride in when I see how many people our sector and the Deco Group specifically as well have, you know, trained in the past years and in the past months specifically, how we have used the cooperation with our social partners, because in many countries it's a cooperation with our trade union partners as well, you know, to again enhance that employability. How we actually create new contracts, such as the so-called agency apprenticeship contract, to ensure that we bring younger people to the labor market. That really makes me proud. So there's the whole, you know, social impact side of that work, and again, you know, thousands of people luckily benefit of that. Maybe to finish off, I'm really proud as well that, you know, we bring people of, well, all ages, very important, all genders, all ethnicities, all religions, all beliefs, all sexual orientations, and all type of credentials to the labor market. What's most important though, and actually that's going to be a next discussion, I think, is that the key for us is everybody has talent, everybody has a skill. And that's why the future for us lies in this, you know, skills-based hiring and recruitment. But as I said, let's keep this for the next conversation.
Well, as I told you, she is remarkable, and we are eager to have next conversations because we learn a lot, and your points are extremely important, but also the work that you're doing to create opportunity in these moments of disruption in all industries, and where a lot of people are having a lot of difficulties to find jobs, is just so crucial. So thank you so much, Bettina Schaller, the President of the World Employment Confederation and Senior Vice President of Adecco Group.